Hello and welcome to another episode of the 42 Courses podcast. I am delighted and honoured to have José on the call with us today. José is not only a devilishly, charmingly handsome Mexican, but he also is the incredible CEO and partner of the design firm Atla Design. He's also the CEO of his dog, apparently, Pancho. We can chat about that later, but welcome to the show, José.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I have to say I'm obsessed with my dog. So I'm really obsessed. I love him so much.
What kind of dog is it again?
It's a golden doodle.
Ah, congratulations. Congrats. Yeah. Well, sadly, we're not interviewing the dog today, but I feel we'll get along grand. You're one of a number of amazing people I've met who's a brilliant designer from Mexico. Is there something in the water over there?
Yes, for sure. I think there is a big influence that I believe it, of course, started with artists like back in the time with Diego Rivera and so many muralists. Of course, Frida, that she's very well known across the world. And then I believe a big influence of architects that also start doing very interesting things in the country. They really bring color into architecture in Mexico. And that was, I think, the next step. And then the graphic design start to blow out. And then a bunch of branding agencies start to blow out. And that's where I start to look at it, say, okay, I want to do branding as these amazing agencies are doing too.
When you were younger, did you ever think that being a designer might be something you do later on in life, or was it kind of a natural progression?
I think it was always there. I grew up in a very traditional city, a small city, traditional school, and it wasn't really my thing, right? Like I wasn't really enjoying the traditional part of it, doing math and chemistry and all of those things. But my parents were always like very supportive about it, of saying, okay, this is how traditional the school is and there is nothing we can do about it. But at the same time, I was very creative. I was always painting, playing with Legos, or doing all the creative things at the same time that I was trying to do the traditional stuff. And then high school was hard because it was like more focusing. You have to pass high school, whether you like it or not. And then when I moved to Mexico City for college, into like a creativity school, that was when really I started enjoying the academic life, honestly, because everything was around color, illustration, how to apply design into life, the history of design. And I'll say like college was the best part of that, building myself as a designer or a creative person.
Oh, that's amazing. And then were your jobs always in design as well at the beginning, or did you get into design by accident with your career wise?
Well, I started in marketing. I think because I do also like the business part of it, and I think marketing does give you a good strategic thinking into design, and I think that's also very important in making sure design also works and not only expresses. I love doing design only for expression many times, but I found also like the fun part on saying, okay, let's combine the strategic part with the design part. And that's how I decided to go for marketing, and also like learning about advertising and some other stuff. And eventually I end up working on social media, as many young creatives right now, like we all start in social media now. I had the joy and the fortune to work for GoPro, the camera brand, when they were peaking, and that was like a very exciting thing. But at the same time, I was always like thinking, I want to design stuff. I want to do more design and focus this into branding and create new brands. And that's when I really make the switch and say, okay, let's only do branding, and that's it.
I mean, I guess GoPro, back in the day as well, it was always full of incredible design stuff. So yeah, I guess you must have picked up a lot of things from there.
Yes, I think it was very interesting. I feel like GoPro with Red Bull, they were like the first in start
Yeah.
building companies as a media company. So it was really interesting to see how everything was being executed in GoPro with so much passion. I'm saying, okay, everything that we have to do needs to be amazing and it needs to be ready for every single platform. And when they were doing it at the beginning, that was a new thing. And right now, everyone operates like that,
Yeah.
but it was very exciting at that moment.
And then your career took you from Mexico to the States. I think you were in initially in New York, if I remember
Yes.
rightly.
So
Uh,
I'm, oh, sorry.
no,
Uh,
no, no, go for it, go for it.
I moved to New York to do my master's degree at Parsons.
Oh,
Like
nice.
my spirits of design schools and learning where many things come from. I really enjoy the academic part of it. Like, and it's funny because I hated academic life my whole life, and now I really enjoy it. And like being in Parsons, you learn so much too of how to apply design into life, and that was the fun stuff. And then things of life, I don't know, I ended working for a chef in New York, very famous chef here in the States. He's actually based in Chicago. uh, and I was working with them developing a brand that it's like a food like a fast food chain, I'll say it like that,
Oh, wow.
for Mexican food. So it was very interesting because I was the only Mexican in the team working with a US team, all Americans, but it was really cool to see their passion for Mexico.
Yeah,
And I was connecting them with design and saying, okay, this is how we design things in Mexico. This is the hospitality design of things that we can apply into the restaurant. And the chef, he's a terrific chef. He knows more about Mexican food than anyone in the world, more than many Mexicans. Uh, so that was like a very interesting intersection of design and food applying into marketing. And I was an amazing experience. And that was like my time in New York.
I I loved what you said about you had your relationship with education massively changing.
Yeah.
As that you sort of hated the traditional, maybe hate is a strong word, but you did disliked the traditional
It
academic
was hard for me.
world, but then Parsons kind of changed that for you. I mean, we've worked with Parsons before, lovely bunch of people. Um, how, I guess they're kind of very design led. So I guess you're design led, but then learning about the business underneath that as it relates to that. Is that
Yes.
kind of roughly right? So,
Yes, right. And I think one of the beautiful things about Parsons or their philosophy around design is really how design can make a better world, or how can design really help change experiences, and how can design change business models and make things around financial stuff, not only like in expressive ways, but really how we think things and how we design things from the beginning until the most expressive part. And that was like a very, I love that approach from Parsons. And it's so important to understand that because many people think about design just as a spark of creativity. And I think colleges here in the States, I don't know in other parts of the world, but comparison with Mexico, they really focus on have a process of finding creativity. And in Mexico, we are very creativity where it's with us and we can make creative things the whole moment. And the US is maybe not as creative in Mexico,
hmm.
uh, with all the respect, but the US people have developed very amazing systems and frameworks to come with creative things. And I really love that part.
And I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but congrats for taking the power to the time to invest in yourself as well. I mean, I think so many people just get stuck into a career and then end up not liking it and end up not really doing much about it because they feel if they stop and start again, it's going to push them back too much. But it's impressive that you came over and then actually took the time to kind of reskill and relearn, or at least sharpen those skills with the things that you want.
Yes, I think it's very important to take the time to keep learning. I know many people are like the best way to learn is just by working, and there is a true in that. There is truth in that part, but I think also focusing completely into learning, it's also important, and you can learn different things, and it's also very important.
And so now, having this sort of amazing design knowledge, I guess this is what kind of led you to start your own design studio. But has it changed the way that you look at the world? Does your partner get annoyed every time you go out, and you starting to like? Do you get really picky when you're out with your friends? You're like, oh, like this beer brand doesn't cut it for me anymore.
I'll say there are two places where I'm too picky, or I get really picky. The supermarket is one. I really enjoy going to the supermarket, and I know it's a designer thing, but just being in there and looking at the packaging, and it's always like a very immersive experience for me going to supermarket. So I go by myself when I can. So my wife doesn't get annoyed about it. And she does get annoyed in restaurants because there I'm very picky, not with the service or whatever, but looking into things and looking into the menu, and I'm taking pictures of every single aspect of the restaurants and thinking how can they be better or what are they doing great. Like the design around those hospitality experiences is something I really like to look at it. So that's where I'm really picky.
What are some of the? I mean, do you have a your own guide for sort of a difference between good versus bad design?
I think it's how fast you can get it, right? Like, even if it's beautiful or not, if it's difficult to understand, it is bad design at the end, right? And I think that's very important to recognize. Maybe the packaging it looks right, but if it doesn't sell what it's supposed to sell, or it doesn't express what it's supposed to express, well, it gets to be useless, right? And we need to find that cross between functionality and design.
And I guess it's sort of, they make you often, even if it's packaging, if you're talking about supermarkets, it's often the best ones tend to make you feel some emotional connections.
Right.
I mean, hopefully they make you smile if it's a product packaging rather than cry, but I guess you
Yeah,
could do both.
that's I guess that's why nostalgia, it's always a great marketing resource. And when you see nostalgia in packaging, I think people really fell into it very fast, right?
It's interesting, yeah. And I kind of hadn't necessarily thought of that before. I guess you can use design to make something incredibly new look very old,
Right.
and make it feel like it has a heritage and everything behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fascinating. And yeah, I mean, tell us about the journey of starting your own design agency with Atla Design as well. How did that come about, and what are perhaps some of the projects that you've been working on that you're most proud of so far?
Yeah, for sure. So this is my second agency that I start.
Congrats.
The first one didn't go as planned, honestly. Uh, but I can talk about why it didn't and why I think
Yeah.
Atla is going. I think the first one that we started a few years ago in Mexico, we had so many focuses at the same time, and we wanted to do branding and marketing, and we wanted to do social media and billboards and so many things at the same time. And that wasn't a great idea for us. Like, it's difficult to be a 360 agency. And I think even now we see less 360 agencies. Like, people are getting more focuses into things. And now with Atla, that we are 100% into branding, and we only do branding projects, that's been like a great way to do it for us. And also working now in having less clients. I know it's like the big goal for everyone, and we are putting a lot of effort into that, of saying, okay, let's work with as less clients as possible. Not because the economic part of it, but it really gives you the opportunity to get into the project and to work with the team in the other side of the brand side, of saying, okay, how can we make a great project together, take enough time to do it, and not rushing things, right? I think when you are the starting or as a freelancer or when you are just new into the agency world, you want to do things fast and you want to prioritize the economic part and make it as easy as possible. And it's okay to do that at some moments, but if you want to start building better cases and brands that are made with intention to be here forever or to last forever, you really have to give the time and the focus to it.
I mean, less is more is a classic saying. So
Exactly.
it's I can see that makes a lot of sense, and I'd imagine the clients must really love that too. And that it, I know, having been both sides, having been a client and someone at an agency, I can see how sometimes you go to let's say a design agency or even a marketing agency, and you're like, okay, I really love these people, this is a great fit, and then you realize that you're one company within like 50 others, and it's kind of, you know, the senior people that you were initially speaking to, now you're speaking to more junior people, and it just all kind of gets lost. So I would imagine clients love you know, knowing that at least with you, they're going to have your focus.
And that was also like one of my mistakes previously. Like I was really focused on that. I'm saying, okay, let's deploy the project to junior designers so we can do more, or let's find a way to do it fast and cheap. And right now I try to do it like completely the other way around. Like, okay, let's find the best talent possible for each project, and let's make it time to do it with the decent time to do it and the perfect focus on it, and not really trying to say, hey, let's do 20 brands this month and see what happens.
Well, I mean, is there a particular project that you're super proud of that you've been working on, you know, more recently, or since you made this the change or the decision?
Yes, I was actually working on the case this morning. I'll publish it later today. A coffee brand in India for an influencer in India. And that's, I think, also one of the coolest things, right? Like, I don't know how she found me. Somehow she found me, and we ended up doing the project. And I was looking at it right now, like time we did it, like, I don't know, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And at the moment I was like, I don't love it. I don't know. But right now, like seeing it again and how she's executing the brand and it looks so beautiful, I'm like, okay, this is great, a great project, especially because we combine many things of their Indian culture with our knowledge in Mexico. That one I worked with a designer in Mexico too. So it was like a great intersection of two cultures. I never had the pleasure to work with someone in India, so that was a fun thing to do.
It'd be amazing. We'll make sure I show some sort of images. I can, if you send some over, I'll add them into the podcast. So people who are watching on a video, good news. If you're listening to this, less good news. But pause and go back, check it out on YouTube, and you can see some of the design work. Yeah, I mean, do you have a philosophy of how you look at either selecting clients and doing the work when you're at the agency as well?
Yes, I have like a long process, or kind of a process. Like I think it's always like perfecting the process, and each client or each project is different. But there is like one part that I really enjoy doing, that I've been doing more lately. And I know everyone presents like the usual mood boards in branding, that they are very helpful and everything. Recently we do a previous mood board to that one, and we call it the vibe board. And it's silly name or whatever, but it's really to find out if we match with the feeling of the client with their brand. And we design like a vibe around the brand, in just making sure that we are on the same channel as the vibe. And I know it sounds very millennial. It is very millennial, I guess. But it's been a great exercise to really say, okay, let's do mood boards that have nothing graphic, so it doesn't get confused with the real mood board or the final mood board. But let's just find the vibe of the brand, and that's an interesting part of our process. And then we jump into the usual parts, like the mood board and designing and everything. And we have a big focus on color too. I'm kind of obsessed with color. And we have a big like look into colors in a very not very defined process, but really take color seriously. I think that's the beginning of many things. And if you match colors with what the brand is supposed to express, it's gonna connect with someone else, right? And I think sometimes, many times, you see cases like if you go to Behance or many times and you see this is a great case, but the color is so bad. If they help, because many people just jump and generate a color palette in the fast way or whatever. And I think it's something you really have to give it the correct time to do.
Tell me something brilliant about color that that most people wouldn't normally know.
Oof, I don't know, but I can stop looking at the red in the back. And I told my wife the other day we should put something red right here in the wall, and she was like, "There is no way we're gonna put something red right there." Uh, but no, I don't know. That was a good question. But no, I think really thinking into that part, I see many, especially like graphic designers, that they are very good with tools and they are very good with the pencil part or using Illustrator better than anyone. But if you don't put the time to study the composition of colors and how to make good color palettes, or most of the design go to waste. So I think it's a very important thing to think about, right?
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I remember in one of our courses, we were doing research around color, and it's fascinating learning about sort of different colors often have different meanings, and so I thought one of the kind of interesting ones was there's that very particular color. Is it like a teal green that Tiffany use? It's sort of, you'll find that a lot of premium brands use that same kind of Tiffany bluey green color.
Yeah.
In their brands over in the UK. There's a very famous brand called Fortnum and Masons. They use that sort of, it's almost identical to the Tiffany color. I'm sure it's not exactly the same, but it's within the wheelhouse. And then also sort of when you're looking at it even more generally, I remember thinking, oh, this is really interesting. One of the things was, if you wanted something to feel lighter, like as though not as serious, use lighter colors.
Right.
It's something really, I guess I'd never thought about, but I was like, oh, actually, yes, okay, you're right. Like if I look at something and it's very dark, I might subconsciously feel that it's a little bit heavier, and that heavier, maybe my brain psychologically leaks that into heavier, meaning difficult.
Yeah.
Which I guess explains why in design, you want things to have a lot of white space, of space to breathe, of
right,
space to make it so whatever it is that they're selling, whatever concept, it feels lighter. If I'm getting this right, please tell me.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's why we saw a big like rush of minimalism over the last probably 10 years of design, where everything was very minimal. And now we are starting to see that it's the other way around. Like people want to see as many colors as possible in the same wall, or as many elements as possible in the same wall, because now we are going for something more maximalist. And I think design is going to be beautiful the next few years, because people want to see so many elements at the same time, and people want to see things full of colors or elements. And I think it's going to be a big contrast, so before and after right now, because we are getting like heavier stuff, as you were saying, like light and heavy. I think people are going to go for heavy right now.
I think I was reading, we recently had a baby, and I've been reading loads of studies around psychology and babies and what they like and dislike. And I read this study a few days ago, which I thought was fascinating, which is probably related to this. And there was an assumption, particularly by people who make kids' toys, that making very smooth, simplistic toys was better. So if you think of a kid's toy, it's often like very chunky, very square, 1-2 colors, very blocky. And what they found is that the kids' brains are most engaged by complex design objects. So they, in the study, they showed babies and young kids pictures of architectural design, and they found that I'm really bad at knowing the different words for architectural design, but when they were showing them the old, beautiful old like buildings from sort of back in, I guess, old Commonwealth days, when they used to spend lots of time making everything very intricate and lots of design details on the buildings, babies loved looking at those, and it stimulated their brains much more than when they just looked at a very new minimalist, flat, like skyscraper type building. Like they would look at, a skyscraper type building would hold their attention for like 1 second, but like looking at one of these older buildings which had a lot of detail in it, they would stay looking at it for many more seconds, or I think it was minutes. But yeah, it's interesting. So I wonder whether, as you're saying, like I wonder whether we'll start finding that more uniqueness in design again.
Yes, I think we are 100%. And like going back to the supermarket, like we're gonna see a big contrast there over the years of saying, okay, right now everything is so plain. We don't have any textures into the boxes. I know it's extremely expensive to get texture into boxes or whatever, but I think people are going to start to look into that again and saying, okay, I want to feel something when I grab something. I want to see the colors. I want to see many elements at the same time. And I think part of that is people are expecting to see many things, because now we can make so many resources with AI, whether we like it or not, or you are pro or against it. The ability to create an immense kind of resources is huge now. So people are going to want to see many stuff at the same time.
I mean, on AI, be rude not to mention it. How have you been finding using it for your own jobs? How are you mostly using it yourself right now? What maybe even better, what have you found it to be really, really good at and helpful for you? And what have you found it to be like totally useless at so far?
Yeah, I think one, it's a very simple one, but I love using it. Like if I found old pictures of very old elements that I want to see in a bigger size, I use a tool. I don't remember the name. I think it's Topaz or something like that. To making them way bigger and bring back the resolution in an exaggerated way. I know that's not great for copyright issues, but for many people, but seeing like historical elements and old elements, I think that's one tool that I love. And the other tool that I use a lot just to like make quick models, or if I need something for a mood board, and I can't really find the inspiration for that, it's Visual Electric. But it's like an easy mid journey or an easy image generator, but it gives you like some art direction options, or you can change like a small stuff, and I use a lot that one.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. And the stuff that it's been terrible at?
AI?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think
have you tried it for something and gone, oh, this isn't working at all?
I don't know. I feel like it's moving so fast. Yeah. So whatever you tried to do a few weeks ago, if you try it again, it changes completely. I was able to develop an app the other day just moving things around, and I have no idea of how to code. And I think those things are going to be crazy, right?
Oh, I mean, it's certainly changing everything. I think particularly in education as well. I think it's gonna change everything. We use it a lot to help try and personalize courses now to people. So when you in the past, when you took one of our courses, much like any other learning platform or lesson, you would sign up, and the course is the course, and whether you take it, whether you're in, regardless of who you are and where you are, it's always going to show you the same course, the same content. And I think this personalization at scale is going to be key. So one of the tools we built was something that looks at every single individual lesson, and then based on the learning goals and the location and career of the person taking the course, we now give practical takeaways that are personalized to you. So at the end of each lesson, it gives it, which is quite cool. And I think, at the moment it's good, and we know that learners like it, but it's still kind of a very basic version of it. I'm sure that in the near future it will be able to totally rewrite it, and just the whole course, whatever it is that you're teaching, would be totally personalized. At the moment, factually, it's just there's a bit too much of a like, this might be nonsense gap, but that seems to be fading very, very quickly. I actually read something the other day that said that like the difference between 3.5 and the latest version of 4.0 or something, or 4.5 maybe, it was like the factual errors, it was around 80% in 3.5, and now it's around 15% error rate for facts. Wow. Which is,
it's crazy,
very good. Like, I would imagine, I don't know the stat, but I would imagine if you just looked at how many normal facts are often quoted wrong, I would imagine it's probably around 15% anyway, just in life.
Yeah.
So
but I think mainly in education is going to be a big change, right? Like my mom is a elementary school teacher. She teaches philosophy for kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very unique. And the other way, they like, even since this began, she was like, okay, we need to keep this out of the classrooms. And she slightly started to change, like, okay, how do we embrace this? And how is this going to be integrated into every single classroom, right? And now she uses a tool called Delphi. And have you seen it?
No. I've heard of it. But...
yeah, it's very interesting. And I cloned myself the other day, so you can chat with me, very silly thing. But they have very good models on Delphi, and they have like every single philosopher. So now kids can go and chat with the philosopher on Delphi. And I think that's fascinating, right? And we're going to see so many fun things, and the people who use it for good and good stuff, they make amazing things. Sadly, people will use it for bad things too, but
true,
nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, but Jose, this now explains why you're such a wise person. You've grown up with a philosopher in the family.
That was fun for sure.
I guess did your mum help bring out your creative side then a bit more as well, if that was her sort of passion?
Yes, for sure. My dad and my mom, even my dad is a financial person, but both of them always embrace that part, and living and experiences and traveling as much as it was possible. And everything has been always around experiences and how to live new stuff, not really into spending, into buying things, but really into living. And I think that's what it made me in that sense of being so embraced by design and trying to look into design in every single thing.
It's a lovely philosophy of life, less things and more experiences.
Right.
Bravo. Amen to that. I guess would there be, if you had to chat to someone who is really interested in becoming better at design, and is there ever sort of one or two or even three key bits of wisdom that you would share with them to help make them better designers?
Yeah, I think the first one, and I always mention it, and I'm very pushy about it, is consistency. I think if you do the same thing many times, that will make you better, right? That there is no, that's for sure. And I think consistency in design, and especially in branding, it's the key for success, right? And the key to transmit the correct message is just to be very consistent in what you're doing. And that's my number one. My number two will say, do it as simple as possible. There is no need to overcomplicate things. Even with the color example, right? Like, don't go out and have a color palette for your brand that has so many colors. because you are not going to be able to execute it in the best way, right? But if you keep it very simple with 2 colors and white typography or whatever, the simple you make it is going to be the easier for you to execute things in a consistent way and in a faster way, right? And the third one, to learn on design, I think learning from different composition from different industries. Most of my composition comes from photography, and I think that's the kind of, I know at the end it's always the same rules for composition, but it's really interesting to see how different industries or creative people learn composition, and once we start to apply those composition things into another thing, that's where you start to see some magic too.
And sorry, just not what's composition again? Is that sort of the general design of something?
Yes, I'll say like the rules of how you put things in a canvas, for example. Right. And photographers have like many rules. I think most of composition rules came from there. Of course, also for painters, there's like different composition rules of, okay, inside this rectangle, what it's going to be and what's the order of things. And if you learn like the composition in painting and photography, architecture, design, and then applying to something different, you'll see a great intersection.
That's brilliant. I mean, it's fantastic advice as well. And anything you're looking forward to in the future? Have you got something interesting coming up? Anything that you're designing?
Not really. Well, like just keep building the agency. That's my complete focus right now. Of keep doing that, trying to bring bigger clients. As I say, just to do more meaningful work. I'm saying trying to build brands that impact more people, and that's the goal right now.
Oh, that's brilliant. You're going to smash it. You're amazing, Jose. So, yeah, thank you so much.
I have to keep working on it.
Yeah, you're a natural. You're a natural. But yeah, I mean, look, I think I know you're really busy, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to share some of your wisdom and guidance. Those 3 lessons are really, really helpful as well. And I love your story of sort of how you've got to where you are now, and I hope it continues to go from success to success. And I'd imagine actually sort of you've having to now start a business, that must have been very interesting. Did you get a lot of your business skills from that Parsons course as well, or was that, did you, like, as though we know you're a great designer and you've done that, but like, how did you get the skills for running the business? I know you said you did run one and it didn't work out. So probably through very hard lessons, but yeah, are there any key things that actually you want to share from that? Because that must be fascinating.
Yes, there's one I always say, and I know it's controversial for some designers and for some creatives, but I do believe in free work. I think doing free work and giving to others a peek of what you're able to do, of what you're capable to do, will open many doors for you, right? And if you have the time and the resources to help someone out by design, it will eventually open more doors for you. So I think that's how I started, like doing as many free work as possible. I keep doing a lot of free work. I keep reaching out to people. If I see someone in social media and I say, oh, it will be amazing to do something for him, I always reach out. And that's one, right? Like, don't be afraid to go out there and offer your work. Of course, also be smart about it, right?
Yeah,
we have to live off something, and that's like one part. And the other one, it's in delivering the best work possible and delivering the best experience while you are doing the work, right? I try to be very close to my clients in offering them whatever I can and going above and beyond what I sold them, just to make sure they feel a great connection with we are doing what we are doing at the agency, and that way they'll bring more work for you. And I think that's the best part of it, right?
100% agree.
When referrals come, it's great business for everyone, and but you have to earn those referrals.
I agree 1,000%. I've always found in life, the more you share, the more you win.
Right.
And I think, as you say, there's a fine balance. Like, you can't just give your time freely to absolutely everyone, but if you're a bit strategic about it, and there's something that you're both going to get out of it, because you even if it would really help someone else, if it doesn't help you in any way, then it's probably not worth doing it. But if it's something you're going to enjoy, then I don't know, is it even work anyway? Why are you even thinking about it? Like,
and it's very helpful for, especially like for freelancers or junior designers, for your portfolio. Especially because at the beginning, as a junior designer, maybe in the agency, you are doing end materials that any creative recruiter, when they see it and they saw, I don't know, for example, you did a billboard for Budweiser, they know that you didn't put a lot into it, because you work for a big agency or whatever, and everything that takes to make that billboard is not a lot from a junior designer. But if you, as junior designer, go out and help a friend out develop their brand or whatever, that's going to be 100% better case for your portfolio than a billboard for a big brand. That's in my opinion, right?
Agree. I remember when I was helping, sort of looking at sort of who we should maybe try and hire when I was at an agency, we always preferred people who had shown that they had gone out and done something sort of proactively and built something by themselves, as opposed to just, here's, as you say, like, here's a piece of work I did at an agency with 5,000 other people.
Or I know, and it's a flashy client, and it's amazing to see that you work for a big brand. It also talk great things about you, because it means you can follow their guidelines and whatever. But it's way more interesting to see what you're able to do by yourself.
Agree, and it shows that self-motivation, which I think a lot of people don't have. I'd rather work with, one person who is super self-motivated than, 20 people who were just doing, they'd work well, but only whatever was on the job sheet, like, and never anything else. I agree. You've shared so much of your time and so many incredible bits of advice and words of wisdom. So thank you. I think your mum would be proud with your philosophizing today. Congrats. And your dog too, I'm sure, would be very proud of you. Look, thank you so much. And where's the best place to, people want to look up how to get in touch with you? Where's the best website to go to?
I'm in all social media. My username is JDOMITO. In Spanish, it's easy to say it, but I don't know. I still have that username. But if not, I'm sure if you Google JoséPablo Dominguez, you'll find me over there.
And the website is Atla.design, right?
Right.
Marvelous. There you go. José, you're a legend. I can't wait to chat again soon. Hopefully get to meet you
so much for having me
in real life sometime soon. But
better.
Thank you so much again for taking time. Really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed listening to this 42 Courses podcast. If you did, please like and share. Any comments are also very, very welcome. And of course, if you want to learn more about us, visit our website at 42courses.com. Thanks again.